Welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. We cover what's happening in our local area when it comes to sports. We'll discuss last night's high school football games. Then we take a deep dive into today's upcoming college football games. And now it's the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz with Randy and Clifford.
Welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. Good morning. My name is Clifford Early, and I'll be your host for the next hour or so as me and my guests and I do our best to bring you the latest in regional, high school, college, and pro sports. Of course, it is college football season, so we'll be focusing mostly on high school and college football over the next hour. My partner, it's his birthday, so Randy got the day off, and Randy, happy birthday to you. So real quick, a couple of things of other note. We're going to focus mostly on football, but Major League Baseball is wrapping things up. It's a pennant race right now, a magic number time, which the team's combination of wins and people behind them's losses is a magic number. And so there are a few teams I wanted to talk about their magic numbers. There's 6 teams from each division that make the playoffs, 3 wild cards and 3 division winners. And the Cubbies are actually in. Their wild card doesn't matter anymore. Cubbies are in, Brewers are in, Phillies are in, Dodgers clinched last night. Looks like the Reds, Diamondbacks, Giants, and Cardinals need a little help. Even the long shot Marlins could make it. The Braves have won 6 in a row, but they're out. So in the American League, let's see, we've got the Yankees with a 5-game wild card. The Astros and the Red Sox are at 8. Now, the Blue Jays are at 1. They need 1 game. They win the game or the other team lose for them to qualify. The Tigers, the Mariners, they lead their divisions with 8 games to go. Now, turning our attention to football, next year the United States of America is going to host the 2026 World Cup. The USA men's team does not need to qualify because they're a host. There's going to be 78 games in the States next year. The U.S. team doesn't have to qualify, as I mentioned, but they need to kind of tune up. So the tune-up games are called friendlies, and they've got 2 in October against Ecuador and Australia. Ecuador is ranked like 24th in the United States, 16th in FIFA rankings. And then in November, they play Paraguay and Uruguay. All right, well, football. Back to American football. The NFL week started off on Thursday night, and the Buffalo Bills are undefeated. They knocked off Big Al's hapless, winless Dolphins. The games tomorrow on Sunday, you've got the Saints at 3:05 at Seattle, and then a bunch of noon games include the Bucks, the Falcons, the Jaguars, Commanders, and the Cowboys all at noon. Game of the week is probably going to be Monday Night Football, which is going to be the Ravens are hosting, lost it. Well, we've got Packers at Browns, and yeah, it looks like the Lions, Dan the Man's Lions, 4.5-point favorite or underdog in Baltimore against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back. Dan the Man Leach is going to join us later in the show. Also on the set in a few minutes is going to be Will Kennedy, the play-by-play broadcaster for the University of West Florida Argos. He's stopping in before he goes to the airport. Before that, we're going to come back and we're going to do the high school wraparound. So when we come back, that's what we'll do. You're checking out the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. We'll be right back. Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Damien's Lemonade at the Drop-In.
WSRE Public Television and the Escambia Elementary Principals Association congratulate these Shining Star Award recipients. These students were selected upon the basis of good citizenship and adherence to the core values adopted by the Escambia County School System: equality, responsibility, integrity, respect, honesty, and patriotism. Congratulations to all of these outstanding students.
Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Do Work Sports.
finding a connection between my favorite PBS Kids show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and my son's favorite PBS Kids show, which was Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. It really made it to where me and him could discuss big feelings a whole lot easier. And to just be able to see things through his eyes, because I could see them through mine when I was a kid. And that's why I love WSRE and why you should too.
Hey, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. This is the high school wraparound. I'm joined this morning by Coach Dante Shepard, as well as Kevin Perkins of Surrounded by Sports, and Coach Paul Tripoli. Real quick, tell us a little bit about DoWork Sports, Coach Dante.
Oh, love to, Cliff. DoWork Sports, sports media company, also player development. We focus on 3 components: exposure, where we cover high school and youth sports in the area; development, where we go in and we work with high school athletes on character and leadership; and then lastly, performance. We try to create opportunities where players can come out and perform, like doing 7-on-7 tournaments and things of that nature. But it's really about building the player holistically from top to bottom.
Oh, you've coached in several schools in the area.
Oh yeah, I coached for 12 years, Scambia, Catholic, my last stop in Pine Forest. Love coaching, and I also had a stop at Eastern Kentucky for a year as well.
That's awesome. So you're not coaching now, but once a coach,
Always a coach.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right. Kevin Perkins, please tell us about Surrounded by Sports.
All right, well, Surrounded by Sports is primarily my avenue of finding out how sports and life intersect with people. What I do is a series of podcasts. You can watch the full-length ones on YouTube. You can go to my website, get to there. But also I make smaller clips that go on the Instagram, Facebook, things like that. And then I do highlight packages and stuff like that. But the core of it is getting to sit down and chase knowledge about how people that are successful use what they learned with sports to go forward and be successful in the rest of their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing that.
Man, appreciate it.
Coach Tripoli, how did you end up in Tuscaloosa? You had a legendary high school coach, so start there.
Yeah, I was very blessed in my life. George O'Leary was my high school coach, and he got me prepared to walk on at Alabama and play for Coach Paul Bear Bryant. So without Coach O'Leary, I would have never had a chance. But Coach Bryant was an apolitical type of guy, and he could read a heart better than any coach I've ever seen. So I do a podcast and for the last 3 years called Coach's Corner. And I like to tell stories. I like to tell people's stories. They got great, whether it's a coach or a player. And Monday nights I do a show, Good and Faithful Servant. We carry good, we weave faith, family, and football. Wednesday nights, kind of a virtue show. My old high school teammate, Bill Pendock, and we talk about humility and stuff like that. Thursdays, local sports report. Saturdays, interview with somebody that has, been in the field, or it's any sport. Not just football, but tune in Coach's Corner. You can search Paul Tripoli Coach's Corner on YouTube for my channel.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A couple other things real quick. Bear Bryant retired on his 21st birthday, or called the team in, and great birthday, huh? Also was captain in the Iron Bowl at the 50-yard line, face to chest with Bo Jackson.
Yeah, we were big underdogs, but we upset them, and I've been really blessed in my career. I coached here in town for Catholic for 8 years, Tate for 5 years, and I really appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for the Sports Blitz coming on. Perk, you do a great job. Man, Dante, I got so much respect for what you do and give back to those kids. It's just a great thing. Cliff,
Trip also played for the Buccaneers, so we left that one out. Well, now we included it. Let's get started. First game we have on the list, Dante.
Well,
you were there last night, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely there for the game of the week, Cliff, man. And I don't know if it was a game of the week because it was a little lopsided because Choctaw walked into Knightsville, but it has been 13 years since Choctaw has beat Knightsville. That streak has been broken. Choctaw dominated defensively. The Alloway brothers, they are incredible. Big hits, interceptions, sacks all night. They shut teams out for 14 straight quarters, and they came up with the 42-7 win last night, so they're still undefeated. Kev, man, tell us a little bit about the Navarre and Milton game.
Well, as you know, Milton, undefeated. They're playing lights out on defense, but when you kick off a lot, you wind up having to give up points. So they wound up winning 53-27. Caden Hall with 4 touchdowns and a pick. They're fantastic. A little tidbit to put you behind the scene on that. Ronnie Douglas told me that Caden Hall is 7 weeks into playing quarterback because he had to play in the spring at safety in order to stay recruited by the Gators and people like that, who's referable to the Gators, of course. Yeah. So that kid's getting better in leaps and bounds. And when they start getting, because they had some struggles, but won anyway. Now that they're winning big, they can start to expand the offense, learn a little bit more. He can throw the ball around a little bit, and all of a sudden, everything opens up for them. This could be a fun second half of the season out there in Milton.
I agree. I'm really excited about when we see Milton and Pace. Talking about Pace, Pace had a bye week last week, so they were fresh last night. Andalusia Bulldogs come from Alabama. Mikael Williams, that's all you need to know. 150-plus yards, 3 touchdowns behind that massive offensive line. Pace is rolling, 35-0 last night. Defense gets the shutout. They're 3-1 on the season. Man, Coach Tripp, tell us a little bit about the West Florida Jaguars and the Tate Aggies at the Summerford Bowl.
Oh, man, it was Summy Bowl 3 for sure. And they were both 1-1. It was the rubber match. I coached with Wes at Tate. I know Rhett really well. Great family. Their dad, Neil, was on Carl Madison's first staff at Tate. I mean, just a great history, great coaches. They run practices the correct way. It's disciplined. I got to give a shout out to Sawyer Smith, our old quarterback at Tate, who went on to be great Troy and Kentucky quarterback. He's the quarterback coach for Hall, so he will ramp up. He'll ramp them up.
Isn't that crazy?
Real quick, Caden Hall, of course, currently a commit to the University of Florida.
Yeah,
right.
So go Gators.
Absolutely. So, but the West Florida, it started out tight, 14-7 at halftime. Afterwards, they were running the ball, not too many throws. They got caught off guard a couple times because when you run, pass, you're not expecting it. So that resulted in a score. But when quarterback Miles Dela Rosa went down with a knee injury, Tanner Clark came in and delivered in a huge way, okay? And the running backs, Bradford broke off one, Clark scored a couple times, and the defense shut him down in the second half. But, what a plan B it was from Coach Summerford, Rhett Summerford, to have.
A great adjustment.
Great adjustment, and you have to adapt or you're going to die in a ball game because sudden change happens all the time throughout the game.
Summerford Bowl, 27-7. Tate Aggies on top. They're 3-1.
Happy homecoming in Gonzales for the Tate Aggies. Do you have any other tidbits?
Well, like you said, think about it now. Caden Hall, what did they do? Ronnie looked at things and said, you know what, my best player needs the ball. Right here, by accident, my best guy with the ball in his hand is Tanner Clark. By accident, what do we do when the quarterback goes out? Well, we snap it to my best guy with the ball. He made the right reads. It opened up for him. He scores 2 touchdowns. He's handing the ball off. And the big offensive line, veteran
got to
offensive
give
line,
a shot to the offensive line.
pushes forward and
absolutely.
dominate. They lost 3-0 last week, or we'd be talking about them like we're talking about Milton right now.
Right.
So they got the future's ahead. And I talked to Wes last week, and Wes told me the key to Rhett is his teams get better.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, one of the biggest changes this year for the Tate Aggies was Rhett coming from the offensive side and going back to his more natural spot, the defensive side of the ball. He's always been a defensive type of guy, aggressive on defense, going to bring blitzes from all type of areas, and you can see it in the Aggies defense. Right now, I'm just going to run down the last scores for us guys. Booker T. Washington goes over the bridge to play Golf Breeze. Golf Breeze is without a win right now. They found some success on the ground. Antonio Lawrence powered them to a victory, 34-16. Booker T, they're 3-1 on the season. Fort Walton picks up their first win. Shout out to them. Fort Walton wins against Walton, 21-18. Northview loses to Home County, 25-12. Baker, man, Matt Brunson, man, he just knows how to do it. And they're 27-3 over Rutherford, keeps them 5-0 undefeated. Taylor County beats Destin, and Mosley rolls Escambia. Very surprising to see what's going on right now there. They're 0-4
That's tough.
this season. They go into next week with Booker T. And lastly, Catholic, y'all. Catholic has been impressive. After that first loss to Pace, they've really got the thing rolling. They go up 35-0 traveling to Providence and Jacksonville. Nice little road trip to get you ready for maybe the playoffs. But they're doing really great right now. So it looks like we're going to have a great season, y'all. Some teams that's surprising us and some teams that's dominating. And I'm excited about what we'll see next week.
We'll talk about that. What teams are surprising you right now? I mean, we're trying to figure out how good Mosley is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And how good Choctaw is.
Yeah. I think Choctaw is hands down. They are what they say they are. They're dominant on defense. Only 21 points this season on them scored in 5 games. I told Coach Tripolo earlier, I don't know if 50 points will be scored on them. I think they'll have about 5 shutouts this year. They got a much lighter schedule at the end of the season. But the biggest surprise, no matter how good Choctaw is, Milton. I mean, we're not surprised what Ronnie Douglas does because this is what Ronnie Douglas does. All right? He is going to win, and his staff is going to do a great job. But the sleeper is how good is Booker T? That's my question. And now next week they'll play Escambia. Although Escambia is 0-4, Escambia has beat Booker T over the last couple years. I know they're going to go into the game as though, hey, we got a fresh start. That's a district game. And no matter what you haven't done, as long as you win a district game, that's all that really matters. And Coach Tripp knows about that.
High school coaching is all the difference in the world, okay? The higher you get, you go to college, you learn in college, pros, it's, they don't make that much big of a difference. But high school, look what Matt Brunson's done when he came back to Baker. Look at Tommy Lee's done and over at Mosley. I mean, look at Ronnie Douglas, everything he touches, including business, turns to gold. Okay? Because just that type of guy.
I just got my car washed at Ronnie's.
Yeah, it's the best car wash in town, folks.
Shout out to Ronnie. Car wash. We love him as a coach.
But yeah, it's in Choctaw, the defense, right? The Choctaw, look at the job that coach has done. Pace, the offensive line dominates.
We can't give enough praise to Coach Vance Smith. It's very rare that the head coach is the old line coach. And he just really picked it up where his dad left off.
I love head coaches being O-line coaches. Mario Cristobal comes to mind. What a great job and a perfect fit he is at Miami.
To your point, that's changing. O-line coaches are starting to get that job every now and then. You know what I mean?
Well, games coming up for Washington. They're at Navarre. Of course, in 2 weeks, then they're going to have the Mayor's Cup down at the stadium.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
PHS in Washington.
Yeah, I don't care. That's always a big rivalry. That's going to be a great game, and the atmosphere is going to be incredible.
That's right. And I guess Choctaw is actually going to PC Arnold. And guess who Milton plays? At Mosley.
Yeah.
So that's
a district game.
Okay.
So they have to beat Mosley and Knightsville to make it to the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be a big time.
What a run. What a great time of year. That's why we love this time of year, high school and college football. Hey, we'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to have Dan the Man Leach live from Detroit. And we're going to talk with him about his take on the biggest games of this Saturday. We'll be right back with Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Damien's Lemonade at the Drop-In.
WSRE Public Television and the Escambia Elementary Principals Association congratulate these Shining Star Award recipients. These students were selected upon the basis of good citizenship and adherence to the core values adopted by the Escambia County School System: equality, responsibility, integrity, respect, honesty, and patriotism. Congratulations to all of these outstanding students.
Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Who Works Sports.
Finding a connection between my favorite PBS Kids show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and my son's favorite PBS Kids show, which was Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, it really made it to where me and him could discuss big feelings a whole lot easier. And to just be able to see things through his eyes, because I could see them through mine when I was a kid. And that's why I love WSRE and why you should too.
Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. I'm Cliff Early, your host, and this is our segment called Deep South Pigskin. And we brought on the play-by-play announcer for the UWF Argos, number 3 in the nation. We're going to try to make this quick because he's got a plane to catch. Will Kennedy in the house. Will, thanks for coming in.
Great to be here. Always pleased to be part of a Blitz package, whatever that looks like.
A Blitz package. I love it. UWF Argos, 2019 national champs. Wasn't the first time they played for it. Just in 4 years, Pete Shinnick, what a program he built. A lot of people don't know Pete Shinnick's dad, Don Shinnick, should be in the Hall of Fame. I want to be there when he is posthumously. He holds the record for the most interceptions by a pure linebacker for the Colts at 37. And that's former UWF coach Pete Shinnick's dad, Don Shinnick. And we all miss Pete. He went up to Towson State, but what a program he built.
Still talk to Pete quite a bit. Now, that record that his dad set will probably never be broken. I think he's 17 or so ahead of the next closest guy, and linebackers just don't get interceptions like that much anymore. So that's a record that may stand for a long time. But no, Pete was the right guy at the right time to build a program, and then, of course, had the opportunity to go back home to the Baltimore area to Towson State, or Towson now. He's done a great job there, just signed a new extension, and still has a house around the corner from the University of West Florida. His sons are living there now, hopefully not wrecking the place because they just redid some stuff before he moved.
That's awesome.
And he tells me he and the wife, they'll plan to come back when he's done. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, very cool.
Number 3 in the nation, 3-0.
Yep.
This week, y'all go to South Carolina, Tigerville near Greenville, and you've got some Clemson tie-ins as well.
It's North Greenville University. They changed their mascot. They're the Trailblazers now. We've played them every year. We've never lost to them. They used to be part of the Gulf South Conference. They have moved to Conference Carolinas, but still on the schedule, and came here last year, beat them, but they've got a really pretty good team. Good quarterback, a guy we've seen for a couple of years named Dylan Ramirez, so experienced guy, doesn't make mistakes, doesn't throw many picks. Should be a good football game. But yeah, you get to go back up there where our head coach Caleb Nobles worked under Dabo Swinney for a couple of years. Caleb was an assistant on that 2019 team, really kind of cut his teeth under Pete. And offensive guy, was our quarterback at one point. He had come from Valdosta to play for us. Still holds the record, threw for 500 yards
in one game,
in a game with us back in that first year. And so Caleb was able to come back here, take over for Pete, young. I think he was 29 when he took the head coaching job. And he brought a guy with him, a guy named Cavell Connor, who played at Clemson, was all ACC, played in the NFL for several years with the Colts and with the Chargers for a little bit. He's our defensive coordinator. Those two have brought, you know, they kept a lot of stuff that Coach Shinnick was doing. Arete, which is on my sleeve, which is the Greek word for excellence, and kind of Pete's philosophies in a lot of ways, but then bring a kind of a younger, if you will, vibe. Not that Pete's an old guy. You know, he's a little older than me, but, you know, he's old school for sure. And so Caleb and Cavell, Coach Connor, Coach Nobles have brought in kind of a different vibe. The staff is really young, except for our offensive line coach, Steve Saunier. And so a lot of energy. Defensively, boy, they get after it. They like to pressure the football, very aggressive. And you're seeing that in the numbers we're putting up. And so far this year, I always say you can't be better than 3-0. Now, are we the third best team in the country? Who knows 3 weeks in? We know who we're shooting for. It's Ferris State. They're the national champ. We've played them a couple times, including in 2019 on the way to that title. And, last year, 7-3, missed the playoffs by one game, lost that season finale to Valdosta. This is a big year to try to get back to where you believe this program should be.
We had a question from a caller. We can't take it because we got you here. But Alan wanted to know, Alan Shaw, he calls in every week.
Big Alan Shaw.
Big Alan Shaw.
I know Alan Shaw.
Big Al?
Yeah.
That's awesome. His question is, I guess the defense has given up 20-something, 7 and 20-something, averaging around 17 points given up. So how's that looking?
Well, that's a little bit of a misnomer, Alan. Like last week, for example, we give up 20 points, but it is one big play, one 95-yard touchdown run, and it's a pick six that we threw on offense, so that wasn't on the defense. And and then there was an interception that was run back earlier in the game where the ball bounced around. So 2 of their scores were defensive, only 1 was offensive. So technically, when you get into the numbers, our defense is not allowing a lot of points. There have been some weird plays in there, but they are, as I said earlier, like they're forcing turnovers. We had 2 interceptions last week. 3 actually. Roderick Webb had 2. We had a punt return for a touchdown. So all 3 phases of the game, you're gonna hear coaches all the time say, we got to win in all 3 phases. He did that last week. Offense was good, defense was really good as far as forcing turnovers and getting off the field when they needed to. And then when you got special teams clicking like that, we got a new kicker, true freshman out of Jupiter, Florida, Brogan Wober. He hit a 39-yarder and a shorter one last week. So, that's a little bit dicey at the D2 level sometimes, but having a solid kicker, we maybe have the best punter in the country. He's a kid named Michael Shine out of Mobile. He was at Mississippi College. They shut the program down. He's a lefty. He's averaging 46 yards a kick. We're talking 5 seconds of hang time and does all the things that an NFL punter will do. So all the pieces are there, Cliff, and Alan, to have that kind of team that could potentially challenge for, what you want to do, which is win the conference and then get in the playoffs and maybe win a title. But it's so early.
The other phase, the Argos are more penalized than their opponents. In fact, the opponents are getting almost 20% of their first downs from penalties. So what's up with that?
I did the Kentucky Wesleyan game. We're on the road 2 weeks ago. We're doing the radio call, and we had 18 penalties for 191 yards. And if you know anything about broadcasting a game, there's a flow to the game, and you like to kind of keep things moving and have the clock. And I don't want to be on the air for 4+ hours because my voice will go hoarse. That game took forever, because every time I looked down on the field, they were tossing, as Keith Jackson used to say, those little yellow hankies around. And some of it was officiating, to be honest, and then some of it is mistakes that that we're making. Like, you get the football to start a drive, and you take an offside penalty on the first play, and you back up, it's 1st and 15, and then you get another one, and all of a sudden it's 1st and 25. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for the coaching staff. I always say this. I used to coach my own kids when they were little at sports, and I used to have to tell the other coaches who like to yell a lot, like, nobody wants to do that. No player wants to drop a pass, get a penalty, fumble the football, but it happens. And now you got to figure out how do we clean that up a little bit. And I think that's been a point of emphasis the last couple weeks. So we had 18 2 weeks ago. We only had 10 last week. But it was for 100 yards. That's not where you want to be. You want to reduce that number. And that won't kill you right now, but when you're playing later in the year, when we play the other teams in our conference, West Alabama, Delta, Valdosta, who have all been ranked in the top 25, the 2 of them still are right now, you can't do that. You can't do that when football games have those kind of penalty numbers.
Penalties can be drive killers. So your quarterback, Marcus Stokes, how resilient is he, and how does he handle that and his leadership?
We've seen the improvement. He played last year, redshirt freshman. It was his first college action. This is a kid out of Nice High School, Jacksonville area, that was highly recruited, Penn State, Florida, other places, and then just some stuff happened, and he wound up with us and had a good year last year. But we went up and played Grand Valley last year, early in the season, and he got sacked 9 times. Had a concussion out of that game. I'm not quite sure he ever recovered last year. Got bigger in the offseason, gained about 20 pounds, knows the offense better. First game was awesome. He scored 6 touchdowns, threw for 4, ran for 2 against Lenore Ryan, a top 15 team. And then he's kind of taken a little bit of a step back, and there's some throws in there you want back, and he's got 5 picks through 3 games, and I think all 5 of them are just like, don't throw that ball. Throw it away or run and pick up some yards. And he's got to be the guy. I mean, this is a quarterback-driven world in football now, right? I mean, from the NFL on down, you've got to have a guy that takes care of the football. I was watching the Buffalo-Miami game, the NFL game from Thursday night this week, and Josh Allen, for example, I think in the last 12 weeks, 30 touchdowns, 1 interception. that's amazing. And if you can get your quarterback to operate at that level, you got a chance to win every football game. And so, not to put any more pressure on Marcus Stokes because he's got a lot on him as the QB, as QB1 for the number 3 team in the country. But they're working with him, and he's got great people in Caleb Nobles who played the position, and Donnie Baker, our offensive coordinator, who came to us in the offseason from North Greenville. So you go up to North Greenville this week, Donnie knows that group real well. They got a new coaching staff up there. So you hate to say it's all on the quarterback because it's not, but he knows what he needs to do.
Well, he's got time to develop. Like you mentioned, the ranking means nothing. The whole season is the last 3 games of the year.
Yeah, it's funny. Coach Nobles, we were talking, he said, so we'll play this week, we'll take the bye, we'll come back, and we'll play at Oklahoma. And then after 5 weeks in, it almost becomes the playoffs at that point. If you're good, you're fortunate to be 5-0, you've got to play some teams that are going to be competing for playoff spots. And you could probably lose a game in there, not that you want to, and still make the playoffs. But it's tight. The margins are thin, as we found out the last couple of years. And so I think this team's ready to make that jump. And you've got some good veteran leadership, offensive line. We lost a bunch of guys. We lost a bunch of defensive starters in the offseason for NIL money. Our defensive lineman, Trayvon Mitchell, went to South Florida for about $200,000. We lost a linebacker to Kansas State. We lost another guy, here and there. So it's hard. Other guys have stepped up. We've got local guys. We've got guys that have transferred in from other places. We've got some great stories on the roster, guys who were out of football and driving semi-trucks and have come back and are playing on the defensive line. So it's kind of fun. The D2 level, there's a lot going on there, and I love it.
Well, we've got a couple minutes left. We're joined by Will Kennedy, the play-by-play voice of the UWF Argos, here on Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. Let's talk a little bit about some of the alumni that keep coming back. Who do we have in the NFL? We're close.
Austin Reed, who was our quarterback in 2019 and then was here in 21, and then he went to Western Kentucky, finished his career there. He was with the Chicago Bears last year on their practice squad. They brought in Case Keenum, a veteran, because they got young quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams and such. And so he got cut, and he's down in Panama City, and he told me he worked out for the Ravens recently, and he's kind of in this position where if a team gets a quarterback injury and they need somebody to come in, he's ready to go. So he's not going to go play arena football or in the CFL or anything. And that's how it works in the NFL. A lot of fans may not realize that. There's a bunch of good guys, kickers, quarterbacks, and otherwise, who are sitting around kind of waiting for something to happen. We got DeAnthony Bell, who was an All-America safety on that championship team. He's with the Seahawks after playing with the Cleveland Browns for a couple of years. And then we've got John Giles, who was an incredible wide receiver 2 years ago for us. He's with the Patriots on their practice squad. So we got you're building that, but we'll play West Alabama and Delta and other schools, and they've got a longer history. They've got more guys that have played in the NFL. It's a matter of time till we start breaking through a few more, and there may be 1 or 2 on the roster right now that are looking to do that. But you want that, right? When you're recruiting, you want to be able to say, hey, look, we've got some guys that we've put in the NFL, and look what they're doing. And even if a guy like Austin Reed or somewhere leaves and goes to the D1 level and has success, you can use that as a tool. And it's just a different world now, though, where people are coming and going, and the NCAA has got to do something with that transfer portal and some of that stuff. But for right now, you deal with the hand you're dealt.
That's pretty awesome. Real quick, tell me a little bit for people that haven't been to a game out at Panera Field. I never thought in a million years that they'd put a stadium there in the
We're gonna build
little
one.
college in the Pines on the hill. But
no, we've got the kind of a temporary setup now, and after this season ends, we'll break ground and start building the home side. I mean, we're talking 5-story building with dormitory space, press box, all that stuff.
Backed up to the gym and the pool.
Well, actually, right there at the Gooden Center. So we've built the
Okay.
Darrell Gooden Center, the Sandy Sansing Sports Medicine Center, which is state of the art.
Nice.
The weight room in the Gooden Center is Division I type, thing, and the stadium. We had 5,000 people for the last home game. You got food trucks. It's a party. The students have gotten, the student section is bigger and bigger every time I look. We got the full band now. I mean, it's a full college football atmosphere, and it's great. And, if I'm a University of Texas guy, we got Florida State fans, Alabama fans, Clemson fans, whoever it is. You can live here and be a fan of another school, and you can come to UWF, and we're going to throw our arms around you, and you can be an Argo fan, too. And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot easier to get to come watch an Argo game than it is, and some of the others. So we'll be home again on the 11th with West Alabama coming in. That's going to be a huge game, so that'll be one to look at. And you can go to goargos.com, see the schedule, results, roster, all that kind of stuff. And then we will also, be on the road. And this week it's a 6 o'clock kick local time. I do it on ESPN Pensacola on the radio when we're on the road. And then we do the games. We stream all the games on Flow Sports, and our students run the cameras and do all the directing and all that. So it's a great, it's more than just football. It's teaching and it's learning and all that stuff too.
I know you love it.
I do. It's crazy to me to be calling national championship games and football games at UWF. When you would have told me when I was working at Channel 3 and all that stuff years ago, I would have said, nah, never going to happen, but it has.
That's awesome.
It is.
Another alum, Ray Jones of Carolina,
Yes, my
Carolina
guy.
Blue guy.
My neighbor across the street.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I had to mention his
Yeah.
name too. He's a big fan. Will Kennedy, thanks so
Appreciate
much
it,
for
Cliff.
coming in.
Thank you. Anytime. Hit me
Awesome.
up.
We'll be right back with Saturday Morning Sports Blitz with our college pick'em, what we think. We'll be right back. Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Damien's Lemonade at the Drop-In.
This is the PBS Video app. Install it on your phone, tablet, smart TV, or other streaming device, and use it to access more of the PBS shows you love. But if you're looking for even more shows to binge like this, or early access to shows like this, then look for this icon. That's the Passport icon, and it means that video is part of Passport. Passport is our way of saying thank you to our station members. Donate to your local PBS station today, and one of the member benefits you'll receive is Passport, which offers extended access to a growing library of favorite PBS programs. You can support your station and your community by becoming a member today. Visit pbs.org/getpassport for details. Watch Passport anytime on any screen, wherever you stream. It's your ticket to the best of PBS.
Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Who Works Sports.
Welcome back. This is the Ask the Expert segment here on the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. Once again, want to thank Damien's Lemonade down at the Drop-In at the corner of Balin and Cervantes. We're bringing in live the expert in many, many things. Some of them are relevant to everyday football. But Dan the Man Leach in Detroit. Dan, my buddy, thanks for joining me today.
First off, I'm also a quantum physics expert. We won't use that today, but I could be happier to be here. It's great to see you, and I'm really happy for this great show you guys are doing.
I tell you what, sometimes I can hear what you say in that rumble, and sometimes I can't. It's good to see you, Dan. So
it's always good to see you, Steve, man.
Let's talk a little bit about today's football slate. You're being a big Michigan guy. I don't think I've seen you since the championship y'all won in January a year and a half ago. But tell us about the Matt Rule game in Nebraska today.
Yeah, if those people want to see me with no shirt and a Michigan Rappers chain at the national championship game, go to my social media, Dan Leach DTM. But listen, you know, this is actually a game I was going to go to. I had 6 tickets I had to sell because I had too many things work-wise and other stuff, family stuff going on. But it's a big game it's a huge game for Matt Rule because this is a Nebraska team that actually with Dylan Raiola, who ironically is the nephew of a former coworker of mine in a great restaurant called J. Alexander's from years ago. And he has been incredible. But this Nebraska program, I mean, I guess you got to go back to Tom Osborne when they were actually still nationally relevant for a long-term period of time. This is a massive game for them. But the Wolverines, after that stumble, obviously a couple weeks ago, where Bryce Underwood in the offense did not look great, and you know it's one of those things where Michigan is going to win some games they shouldn't, and they're going to lose some games they shouldn't have. That's a game that I thought a lot of people thought Michigan was going to lose. They weren't ready. But after last week in Central Michigan, they're cream puff cliff, as obviously everyone knows. The offense though looked incredible. The offensive line's been a work in progress. You know, the defense obviously was really good, and it's a MAC team, so let's be honest here. But I just was so impressed with how Bryce Underwood's confidence, his pocket presence was. This is a kid that I've gotten to know. I called 2 of his games into a high school game, football game of the week here in Michigan, and he played for a team called Belleville that had lost 2 games in his entire 4-year career. He started as a freshman. And I remember the first time I saw him as a sophomore in the KLA title game against a team we cover called Brighton. Kid 16, I stand next to him on the field watching him warm up. Thought he looked like Patrick Mahomes. He's incredible. Problem is, a lot of people have issues with the coaching staff. Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator, obviously is new, and they feel like there can be issues with his growth. But listen, it's 3 games. the kid's going to only get better. I think Michigan's going to go in there, Cliff, look really good to start, get that crowd out of it. It's going to be a close game, but in the end, I think the Wolverines' offense will be too much unless Raiola goes off. I'm nervous about the back, half of Michigan's defense, but I'm very excited to see what Underwood can do in a hostile environment after, how he failed in week number 2. And I think that Michigan's going to win this game. I can't believe the spread has moved down from 3.5 to 3 to 2.5, now 1.5. All the sharp money, a lot of the public money. Michigan's one of the biggest bet teams anyway. But a lot of the money's on Michigan because they feel Michigan's the better team in this situation because Nebraska is not, as you well know, Cliff, played good in these huge games they've had under Matt Rule or previous coaches for probably 15, 20 years.
We're joined by Dan Leach, live from Detroit. He's a host for Benzinga, talks about odds on that financial network. Also a host with WHMI and DTM's SquatchPicks.com. Dan. Club. Thanks for making that
clear. We got to be fancy.
That's kind of cool with your own ending there. Let's talk about some of the huge games, whichever one you want. Let's start out west. Texas Tech. Big winner in NIL and the transfer portal. They get a lot of Texas oil money. Going to Utah with that Utah defense that likes to play a lot of man. So what do you think is going to happen there with Texas Tech and Utah?
Hey, listen, I actually picked Utah before the season started to win the conference. And obviously, these are 2 3-0 teams. This could be considered the biggest game of the day. And to me, this is where you're going to find out, what's going on in the Big 12. And I think you look at Morton, the quarterback for Texas Tech. He's obviously been really good. He's 57 of 81 for almost 1,000 yards so far. He's thrown 11 touchdowns. That's going to be pretty tough when it comes to what Utah is going to try to do. But, Utah's 3-0 for a reason as well. They've got a good defense. This game is at home. I look for, this to be something where both teams are going to kind of feel each other out earlier. Dampier, the quarterback for Utah, has got to play well. He's had a pretty good start, too. He's 65 of 89, 65 completions in 3 weeks for 7 touchdowns, no picks, and a quarterback rating of 158.3. This is an incredible matchup for this early in the season. It's going to go a long way, I think, determining who's going to have the kind of big momentum when it matters later in the Big 12 season. I mean, obviously, you're not out of it if you lose this game. But I like the Utes at home. I think they're going to rise up. And I think it's going to be one of the best games we'll see all season in a back-and-forth affair that ends maybe with a walk-off field goal, something like that.
Number 16 and 17, Texas Tech and Utah. That's the big noon game at 11 Central here with Screaming Gus and Joel Klatt on the call. Let's move to Auburn at Oklahoma. A lot of storylines in this game.
Yeah, there's a ton. And listen, you start with Oklahoma and an absolute true Heisman contender. I think that everyone, obviously, the noise was all about Arch Manning early in the season, and obviously the quarterback from Tennessee, or from Klubenik from Clemson. That noise has all gone away, and now everyone's talking about Mateer. He has been talking about. I mean, I gave you the numbers of the quarterbacks for Utah and Texas A&M. How about 71 of 105? 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, but he is a massive difference maker. And that's one of the reasons my Wolverines that we talked about struggled at that game at Oklahoma. Obviously, this is a different scenario because, you look at this as a conference game. I think Mateer is going to be a big factor in this game. And to me, once again, it's kind of like that Utah-Texas Tech game. You look at these 2 teams, Auburn and Oklahoma, it's not going to determine who wins the SEC, their division, but it's going to go a long way, Cliff, I think, into giving one of these 2 teams, a lot of confidence. You got a top 11 team in Oklahoma. You got a top, 25 team in Auburn. Auburn has had trouble scoring at times, but then they look so good on defense. I like Arnold, their quarterback. He's 48 of 69 for 4 touchdowns, no picks. He's got a QB rating of 149.7. They've got Coleman, the wide receiver. They've got Cobb, that running back. This is going to be another explosive game. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think Oklahoma with Mateer is going to kind of establish himself as the kind of, early season Heisman favorite. Everyone talks about September Heisman's, Cliff. It happens in Ann Arbor, Michigan a lot. You don't want a September Heisman, but I think Mateer is going to show why he should be the favorite. They beat Auburn on Saturday.
Let's move to the state of Florida, deep south, and we've got the Gators who are struggling and with a crazy schedule in front of them, one game at a time, going into play Miami. It does not look good for Lagway and the Gators.
Those Florida Gators, Cliff Early. I mean, listen, I got some friends that are Gator fans. They used to talk a lot of smack when they were playing well. They're not doing it so far. And listen, I got to tell you, this Florida team just doesn't look good. I mean, obviously, they struggled offensively. They struggled, stopping in big situations teams that have good offenses, and that's why they're 1-2. Miami, on the other hand, they have looked like a top 5 team. There's a reason they're 3-0. And when you look at Beck, he's a Heisman favorite as well. He's thrown 7 touchdowns, has thrown 2 picks. He can't turn the ball over in this game. But it goes again when it comes to these big games early in the season. This game is in Miami. And to have that home, ice advantage, I was going to say home ice, have that home field advantage, it's almost hockey season. Have that home field advantage is a big deal.
College game day, of course, somewhere near that game. That's a crazy neighborhood where Hard Rock is, so they're not right there. They should probably be in Bloomington. This is the most underrated game. Illinois ranked going into Bloomington. They're both undefeated. That's the night game. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, maybe they should be, Cliff. But I mean, listen, game day's got to go or game day's got to go. By the way, such a cool thing he did for Corso at Ohio Stadium, even though I hate that place earlier this season. He's an absolute legend. Yeah, I think that these are two. Well, Indiana was kind of talked about last year at times, but this Illinois team is probably the best team not being talked about around the country on a national level. They're both capable of, winning 10, 11 games this season. I like Illinois better this year. I mean, last year I was more of a fan of Indiana. I liked the way their offense played. They had, a good secondary that could really slow teams down in big situations. They gave Michigan some trouble as well in recent years. But Altmaier, the quarterback for Illinois, I think he's going to be the difference maker. He has 8 touchdowns this year, no picks, and 182 quarterback rating. I like Fegan, the running back for Illinois as well. This is a great game. It's going to be another one. We probably have maybe the best kind of slate of undefeated matchups this early in the season I can remember. Maybe there was a few years ago, I remember there was some Clemson and Georgia and Alabama stuff going on with undefeated teams, Texas A&M. But this is going to be such a great game to watch. It's going to really show why the Big Ten is continuing to be one of the best conferences in the Power Four. And I think the winner of this game has got a great chance to win their, to be in the title game come later in Indianapolis. But I think in the end, it's going to be Illinois, even though it's on the road and even though Indiana's almost a touchdown favorite. I like Illinois to win this one. Yeah, the winner of this game, it sets them up maybe an 11-1 or 10-2 regular season and possibly at-large, maybe the 3rd or 4th spot out of the Big Ten in the college playoff. We've only got a couple minutes left, Dan. Once again, Dan Leach, Benzing at WHMI in Detroit, and the founder of SquatchPicks.club. A couple of spreads I want to talk about. Oregon, 34.5. Tennessee, I think they're 38.5. And Florida State, the biggest spread in D1, 44.5. Would you play these spreads? How would you play these? Well, listen, you start with the Oregon game. I mean, Oregon State is really, really bad, but this is, a incredible rivalry. I mean, think about all the years. If you're a national college football fan, you see Michigan and Ohio State, obviously, being much closer situations. I would stay away from this game, but I think that Oregon State actually, in this Civil War matchup, has the advantage because they're getting, almost 5 touchdowns. I think they keep it close enough, even though they're a very bad team. But I'll tell you, when it comes to that Florida State spread, stay away. I'm not touching that. That's for sure. Too many points. Early in the season, maybe week 1, week 2, it's one thing. When you got teams that have 2, 3, 4 games under their belt, that's just too many points. I think it's one of the biggest spreads, as you said, in Florida State history, isn't it? I would guess so. Yeah. I mean, 44.5. I think it went to 46 at one point. So we'll see. I guess the money is going on Florida State to cover. Dan, I want to thank you for coming in. Virtually, of course. So good to see you. I can't wait to see you again. Say hi to Susie and Doc Harold for me, your parents, okay? I will. Keep up the great work. Really proud of you. All right. Thank you, Dan. All right. We'll be right back with Will Kennedy, play-by-play voice of the UWF Argos. Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Damien's Lemonade at the Drop-In.
This is the PBS Video app. Install it on your phone, tablet, smart TV, or other streaming device, and use it to access more of the PBS shows you love. But if you're looking for even more shows to binge like this, or early access to shows like this, then look for this icon. That's the passport icon. and it means that video is part of Passport. Passport is our way of saying thank you to our station members. Donate to your local PBS station today, and one of the member benefits you'll receive is Passport, which offers extended access to a growing library of favorite PBS programs. You can support your station and your community by becoming a member today. Visit pbs.org/getpassport for details. Watch Passport anytime on any screen, wherever you stream. It's your ticket to the best of PBS.
Saturday Morning Sports Blitz is proudly sponsored by Who Works Sports.
Hey, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Blitz. I'm Cliff Early. We want to thank Dan and Will Kennedy for joining us today. Back on the set with us are our coaches, Coach Dante and Coach Tripp. We're going to break down today's games real quick. Of course, we're going to get to Florida, Miami. Local games of note, Troy 1 and 2 is at Buffalo. Coastal Carolina is at USA, so the Jags have a game at home today in Mobile. Southern Miss is at La Tech, and South Carolina State is who's going to play at South Florida as they try to bounce back from last week's Miami game. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Penn State. They're both off. Big games for them next week with the new teams in the larger Big Ten, as Ohio State is going to play in Washington and Seattle to play the Huskies, and Oregon's actually traveling to Beaver Stadium to take on the Nittany Lions in Happy Valley. LSU's got an easy game. Now we get to number 4, Miami and Florida. Dante, your thoughts on this Florida at Miami game? Do the Gators have a shot?
No, I've picked the Gators week after week, and Carson Beck is hot right now. I got to go with the Hurricanes.
How about you?
Absolutely. The defense is playing better than last year for Miami, and that's what they needed. Their quarterback's better, and Florida is loaded with talent, but they haven't put it together yet. Miami by 10.
Yeah, and I know that Florida, a lot of people are talking about it's rumors swirling about Napier. I think they learned from the UCLA situation and the other school that already canned their coach that you don't do it this early in the season with transfer portal. I mean, you could end up without a team and not even be able to finish. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Of course, DJ Lagway is the X factor here. He just can't throw any interceptions. Evidently, throwing an interception now is called doing the Lagway. So,
wow,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's
all
tough.
right, we're going to move to the next big game real fast. Let's see, of course, Illinois at Indiana. They're both 3-0. This is kind of a de facto playoff game because with 16 teams in the playoff now, they could be the third or fourth team from the Big Ten to make it.
Yeah.
Illinois going into Indiana. Game day should have been there, but lo and behold, they're not. So anyway, who do you like, Indiana or Illinois?
I think it's both of their first real game. I mean, of course, Indiana put up 73 last week. That's always fun and exciting. But I'm going to stick with it. Illinois is going into Indiana. I'm going to say the Hoosiers can get it. So I'm going to go with the Hoosiers.
Okay, what do you think, Coach?
Yeah, it's 4.5 point favorites. The Hoosiers are 4.5 point favorites. And Illinois is ranked 9th, and they're 19th. So if something's up, that home field advantage, Indiana's probably going to squeeze it out.
Yep.
It'll be an interesting game. Indiana plays kind of an aggressive defense, right? Illinois wants to slow the game down. And I think Illinois is going to be able to control that. They got more experience. The quarterback, Luke Altmaier, is a long shot maybe for the Heisman at this point. So I think Illinois is going to win at Bloomington.
Okay.
All right. Next game we look at is going to be the big noon game. That's Utah and Texas Tech. And that's late. It's a 10 o'clock start Central Time, and there's an 11 o'clock start after that, Fresno State and Hawaii. But anyway, Utah and Texas Tech. Who do you like, Dante?
I got to go with Texas Tech. Texas Tech always seems to come out of these type of games. It's close, but Texas Tech is going to edge Utah.
I got Utah in this one. I'm going to give up the 3.5 points, and I think Utah being at home. Kyle Whittingham wants to go out a winner this year after last year's losing season, and I think he's got the defense to do it this year.
One thing Kyle Whittingham has also done, he saw how Colorado had a Heisman Trophy winner last year that played two ways. Utah's got 3 of them that play 2 ways, which is pretty exciting. They also, much like Auburn, that we're about to talk about in a second, and actually Oklahoma, but they have an offensive coordinator and quarterback that came from New Mexico State. I think Utah is going to be strong enough, and they're going to defend, they're going to win and cover. Last game, Auburn and Oklahoma.
Well, Cliff, you just was talking about quarterbacks. You know, I saw a stat that 85% of quarterbacks that come into college football transfer now. Speaking of that, Jackson Arnold used to play at Oklahoma. I just believe football is played in the South, and I believe that Auburn is going to pull it out versus Oklahoma.
I'm a Brent Venables fan. I really am. I think he was the master of those defenses at Clemson when they won national titles. He's building the program, and he's got an NFL quarterback in Mateer. That kid can run. You know, he might not be able to run 18 times a game like he's been doing, but you can't do that in the SEC. But I think Oklahoma at home is just a little bit too much for Auburn.
You know, Mateer sat behind Cam Ward at Washington State, right? And so Washington State offensive coordinator and the quarterback come to Oklahoma. Venables knows Jackson Arnold pretty well. I think Oklahoma is going to be able to take care of business.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, well, we're going to see.
So the biggest game for you?
Biggest game for me is, I think that is the biggest game.
Auburn, Oklahoma.
Auburn, Oklahoma, definitely the biggest game this week. You know, we got a lot of people off. But I think that's the biggest game this week.
Yeah, next week is when they really get into the conference schedule, and it's really when the rubber meets the road. We're going to see where they're at.
Well, we didn't mention Georgia or Alabama. They both have a bye this week, and they're going to play each other between the hedges at Sanford next week in Athens. Saturday morning Sports Blitz. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you next week.